Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with episode number 33 of our Italy's Holocaust, looking at the films from 1979 to 1994. Bookended, one being Zombie, of course, and the other being Cemetery Man, Michele Soavi, and of course the former Lucio Fulci, right? And then everything in between. According to, in most in part, Jim Harper's Italian Horrors, a reference guide of the films, as I said, between those 2 years. And so I've been sort of using it as a means and a guide. And also it's helped, you know, I don't have that in my collection, I don't have that in my collection, and Italian cinema is my real niche, right? I mean, basically from 1960 to 87, I would imagine, is really my niche. Although Cemetery Man is out of this world, right? So here we go in episode 33, Demons 2. The follow-up to the first Demons film, Lamberto Bava, of course, the son of the great Mario Bava, 1986. Right towards the end of what was the great moment in Italian horror cinema. It's hard to decide when the final nail in the coffin is rendered, but there is some nice moments towards the end. Whether you're talking Demons 2 or even, say, opera, Argento's opera, or you're talking Soavi's Cemetery Man. There's some great moments towards the end as cinema is giving way in Italy to TV, unfortunately. So a lot of these guys that are working will go to TV. And I may, my next Italy's Holocaust, I may pull something from one of these guys that was, you know, made for TV and take a look at. I have an idea or two, but so Demons 2, running with the arrow, of course. Demons, this set, Demons and Demons 2. Again, part of the reason why I went region free, at the time there was no real release of this film here stateside. There is now, of course. But at the time, there wasn't. And so Arrow had put out, now this is probably the stripped down from the initial release, but still a pretty awesome release nonetheless. I mean, check it out. And the other one's the same, and I'm sure I showed it. 2-disc set with a book with an article by Cataldi-Tassoni, which is really good. Alternative art, of course, as you generally get from Arrow. Probably the more traditional artwork, if I remember right. But I do really dig the stencil sort of black and white work here. I think it's pretty freaking cool. So I don't usually do this, so let's do this. Unleashed through the TV and bringing hell direct to your living room. Resurrected out of the dark, forbidden zone, the world's ugliest zombies, not really zombies, they're demons, are causing carnage in an apartment block, eating the residents and spreading their deadly plague. You know, really what this should have been more like. This really should have been a serious nod to this in all of its Italian greatness. It's not. It really is contained to really one floor, if you've seen it. But really, the rumors were, you know, rumors abounded that this was going to pay tribute in some way, fashion, form, whatever, to Demons 2 that takes place in an apartment building. I guess I wish it would have. That's a great movie. I love this movie. As an Evil Dead movie, there are some great moments in here. But how I wish it really, those rumors would have somehow been true. And it really, aside from, I mean, it might actually make a pretty neat double feature, maybe, perhaps. But continuing, watch as a teenage birthday girl ruins the party by eating her guest. She doesn't really eat her guest, she infects her guest. See bodybuilders torn to shreds and tremble in terror. Bobby Rhodes is the main guy there. As possessed children run amok. Will anyone survive, or will the demons rise once more and destroy us all? Directed by Lamberto Bava, produced by Dario Argento, this Italian splatter classic will leave you in fear of turning on your TV or your television. A lot of extras, and I'm sure with the, I think it's a synopsis that put it out here stateside. I'm sure there's tons of extras. Jim Harper makes the point that he feels the sequel is actually in some ways better than the first one. The score is phenomenal. You hear a little bit of it right now. In fact, the first few seconds the film begins, when Boswell's score sort of kicks in, the thing about Italian cinema is, look, I've heard it said, whether it's Frank Darabont or George Miller, these guys have said over and over, the black and white medium has this ability of just making something otherworldly. It's something that's not grounded in reality anymore. It's something other than here. Italian cinema is the same way. The minute you start Demons 2, the minute that score kicks in, it's like a nightmarish fantasy world that you're just sort of catapulted into, and you don't know what's coming down the pike. This is an interesting, I've heard it said that really this is just a remake of the first film and not really a continuation. I kind of don't agree with that. I can see why it would be said, you know, a lot like what Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn is to the first Evil Dead film. This film though is different. Not like, I mean, it's in the sense of how it treats its predecessor by, again, the film within the film, which is freaking awesome, which is a really awesome Lamberto's sort of love letter. I've never really heard it said like this, but I'm going to say it. I think it's Lamberto's love letter to his dad, the film within the film. There is a serious callback to Black Sunday, which is freaking awesome, man. If you've seen Black Sunday. In this film within a film, it treats the original event of the first film as reality in the sense that it has happened, and now here is a sort of a pseudo-documentary type horror film that is sort of educating people that this did in fact happen, and this was a real city, and now it is sort of a quarantine zone, a forbidden zone that no one's allowed to go into, but these kids, of course, do manage their way into here in this film within a film, and ultimately in a Black Sunday way, ultimately resurrect one of the demons, which I have to say, aesthetically, the imagery of just crumbling, decayed buildings, demons caught, trapped under rubble, is so freaking cool. I mean, I said it to the first one, I'll say to this, I would have loved a third piece, which would have really been one of these films within a film, but a film, if that makes sense. That would have been so freaking cool. But the imagery of the film within the film is so stinking cool. And when this demon is resurrected, it really is the ultimate callback to Black Sunday. But what this demon does now, at the same time, you're in the apartment complex, right? And or the high rise, and you are literally everywhere in this high rise. You're down in the lower areas where the gym is. You're in various apartments. You're just all over the place, man. You've got the people with the gym who will play a part in this. You've got a husband and a wife who she's expecting a baby. They will make a important part of this. And then you've got Sally, right? Sally is the real sort of, for our film, the antagonist, in the sense that she is the first infected that will begin to infect everyone else. And I love it, man. Her character never disappears. Even as a demon, she is in the final moments of this film, which is really stinking awesome. It's so cool. So one of my favorite moments in horror film history, just so happens compliments of it's Italian. This scene, this visual effect is unreal. So Sally's watching our film within a film. It's her birthday party. She has basically, when she hears that someone in the gathering of friends has basically given the okay for her ex-boyfriend to come, she has basically, she throws us. It is a really over-the-top tantrum. It sort of actually is a callback to that one girl character from The Invisible Man or Bride of Frankenstein that just has that way over-the-top freaking out acting ability. She throws this tantrum and she goes, locks herself in her room. And it's funny how everyone else in the party just continues on without really thinking much about her until it's time for the cake. And it's like, hey, where's Sally? And it's just kind of weird, but she's in there watching the movie within a movie. Now, when this demon is resurrected, she is suddenly hypnotized, and the demon from the other side of her TV screen sees her through that opening, I don't know, just say dimensional quality, otherworldly quality. The demon sees her through that screen and starts to move closer and closer and closer to the screen. And she's hypnotized like a vampire or something hypnotizes you. And she can't move, she's frozen. And suddenly the demon starts to push its way through the TV screen. And it has got to be one of the best, coolest visual effects of any horror movie. I mean, if this could really happen, this is how it would go down. This is how it would look, probably. And ultimately, she finally snaps just as he's like almost through the TV. Power goes or something, and then the power comes back on, and the TV is just fuzzy. And she's like, oh, jeez, why was I so... And then she turns and boom, right there, the demon is in her world. Think Freddy when he comes out of the dreams, and he's actually in their world, right? And man, the demon just tears into her, and that's all she wrote, man. Then she will eventually, the cake is ready, and they invite her out, call for her to come out. You don't see the physical effect of what just happened. It's almost like in the interior of her. But as she's cutting the cake or blowing out the candles, she begins to transform. And when she does, man, it is, wow. And then it's just a carnage city in her apartment with all her friends. And then what's really interesting is the blood of these demons will like sort of soak down through the floors, find its way down and drip through, almost reminiscent of Aliens, right? And the acidic blood that just sort of melts its way down. And anything it touches will also be infected. Think 28 days, right? 28 days later. And which is all you got a demon baby running amok, which at one moment is the funniest thing in the world, but also in a way it's its own coolest thing in the world. You've got, the infection starts to spread through this high rise, and your heroes step forward and start to, in their own unique locations. You got some incredible visual effects of the demons in terms of the mob-like quality of just coming up down corridors or hallways, up stairwells, their glowing eyes. I mean, and the score, oh my Lord, the score. I can't remember all these bands because these are bands that I don't really know that well. But you gotta know who's all in this, man. The score is Simon Boswell for one. But here's some of the other people that you hear on the score. Peter Murphy, Love and Rockets, The Cult, The Smiths, and Fields of Nephilim. Nephilim, if that's how you say it. British music. It's just, you've got this, Jim Harper mentions this in his review. One excellent scene has the demon sprawling down a dimly lit corridor in slow motion with the ambient strains of Dead Can Dance playing in the background. you got this great, he mentions, you know, it's sort of some throwback nods also to George Romero, Cronenberg's The Shivers. And some, you know, one of the other incredible visuals is our main hero, the husband, who is escaped an elevator, and he's climbing up, pulling himself up the wire cords or whatever, and he's got a demon chasing him. Just the visuals of looking down and just seeing that. At the end, when him and his wife get to the top of the high rise, and he and it's great. This is a movie, and Jim Harper mentions this is free of subtext. This isn't like a lot of the junk we get today. And it's not all junk. I don't mean that. But I mean, a lot of stuff we get today is filled with so much freaking subtext. And it's a metaphor for this, and it's a metaphor for that. And it's like, you ought to be like this, you ought to be like that, all within this framework of this movie that we're digesting, and quite frankly, making us want to throw up from time to time. But not in earlier movies, especially like a movie like this. This is just and Demons, probably, you say the same thing, the first Demons. It's just an absolute roller coaster effect ride. And that's it, man. It's just get the popcorn out, have a blast. The score is insane. The music applied to the soundtrack is insane. The visual effects, the makeup, special effects, the ambiance, the atmosphere at times. When the husband and his wife, I think it's George and Hannah, make it to the roof, and I was getting to this point. Ultimately, they had rappelling. He has a rappelling kit of sorts, because earlier you find out, not till that moment, you find out that they had taken a training course in rappelling. Normally in a movie that foreshadows something, you'll see that at the beginning, foreshadowing an end. Here you don't get it until the end. And it's a means of encouraging her that you can do this. Remember, we've had the training. And as they're rappelling downward, of course, Sally, she shows up, right? And she's at the top of the roof looking down. Instead of trying to pull the thing up, no, she like scales down the rope to them. And it's just, I mean, there's just some great visuals in this movie. And you kind of hear the piece of the score, right, going on behind me. It just is so much about this movie. And honestly, the last thing I want to talk about real quick is, and I have to say too, real fast, the writers here, Argento, Bava, Farini, Sacchetti, the cinematographer had worked on A Blade in the Dark, the first Demons. He was also known for a lot of underwater work, whether it was Creepers. Remember Popeye? That's a funny movie. Inferno, the underwater, the room scene that she drops her keys fall into. Assistant camera guy, the cinematographer, was on Bay of Blood. The makeup effects compliments of Stavoletto and Prespino, who he had worked, of course, on Zombie Holocaust, City of the Living Dead, Burial Ground. I mean, just, I mean, tons of stuff, man. I mean, you got some real talent at work here. Distributed by the Titanus film company. The last thing I want to say is, it's, you know, whether it was Fulci's Zombie not getting a direct follow-up with him attached, this is maybe clearly the biggest missed opportunity in terms of capping off a trilogy or creating a franchise, an Italian horror franchise. Now, unfortunately, this film comes out in '86, and there's already a transition in effect from cinema to TV. But there was talks of a third piece. Unfortunately, that third piece is rewritten, reformed by Michele Soavi, that is The Church. And so he really does make it his own film. And so it is not a Demons 3. And I wish Michele and I get it. I get why he did what he did. And I totally respect it as an original filmmaker. But I wish he would have seen the importance in the moment of what a capper to this trilogy, I mean, being a trilogy, would have meant in the long run in terms of Italian cinema. I really do wish that Church, I would have been in its initial concept the third piece to Demons, and however that would have looked exactly. I really think they missed an incredible opportunity at an insane trilogy. And who knows, maybe a broader franchise that Michele puts his third piece in and maybe someone else comes in. But again, cinema, Italian cinema, horror cinema especially, it's coming down, man. It's almost over. All right, man, I'm like 20 minutes in, man. I talked enough about Demons 2. Love it. It's mandatory watch, especially October, man. Halloween time. I gotta watch this. This movie, man, 1 and 2. Just some good stuff going on here. Yeah, as always, man, here at, whether it's Italy's Holocaust, my X-Files episodes, Body Bags, my Crazy Fives, whatever it may be, man, we always send these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream. We might be useful to you.